Hey guys, it's Katie and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about these brushes. They are the BS Mall brush set from Amazon. Like if you ever go on Amazon and search brushes, these probably come up, and I was super curious about them because I don't see anyone use them really on YouTube and I always see them. So I thought that I would pick them up, especially because the whole set here was $10.45 and you get a ton of brushes. So if you want to see my thoughts on these brushes now that I've been using them for about 2 weeks, then just keep watching. So in the set, you get 9 eye brushes and 5 face brushes. These are all dirty because I just used them. Also been using them for a while, and I haven't washed them yet, but that's okay. So I got the ones that are pink, but they have a bunch of different colors, I believe, and you can see all that. I will link down below the exact set that I have, and then you can look through for other colors if you are interested. So I'm going to do a demo with as many of these brushes as possible, which I will also be including, but I thought I would give my general opinion first. So the eye brushes you get are all of these. You get a typical crease brush, you get an all over shadow brush, you get kind of an angled one, you get some little detailer ones. These ones look almost identical, but this one is angled, this one is not. You get some more pointed brushes, flat shader brush, and the liner brush. So you get quite an assortment of brushes. Some of them I feel like are a little redundant, as like this one and this one is angled, one's not, but they're essentially the same thing, but still great quality. I have not had any issues with shedding with any of these yet, except for this angled one. Mine kind of came already starting to shed, but since I washed it before I started using them, they haven't shed, like this one hasn't. So yeah, and these actually feel really sturdy in terms of like the glue keeping them together, whatever. I heard that that is an issue with a lot of cheap brushes, but I have not had that issue yet. So overall, very soft, very effective. And for the face brushes, I absolutely am in love with this brush, which you will see in the demo. This is the round face brush. It's just like a typical buffing brush. I feel like this whole set is worth it just for this one alone because of the price of these types of brushes anyway. And basically you get a bunch of bonus brushes. But this is my favorite. It's just like the perfect amount of like being dense, but not too dense where you get too high of coverage, but you get like a nice coverage, and then the shape you can really just like buff it in, and I love this. And all of these are pretty good too. I am not the biggest fan of this one, mostly because I just use Beauty Blender typically to apply concealer, and when I don't use a Beauty Blender I use this one. But this one is also soft, just not as dense. The 2 flat brushes are definitely not as dense as a lot of flat top brushes that I have used, so I'm not sure how this compares to more expensive ones. I don't really have any expensive flat top brushes, so I couldn't tell you there, but they are good quality and very soft as well. And the angled brush, again, this one is more dense than the flat ones, but still same difference, very soft. Yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about those. They all appear to be great quality, especially for what you pay for. Like, they haven't loosened up at all. I've washed them once when I got them, so I haven't washed them since, but I did wash them immediately because they do come out of the box with like a smell. I threw away the little bag that came with them because like, no, it did not smell good. It was very chemically scented, but I did wash them then, and that seemed to do the trick. They don't have the chemically smell anymore. So before I get into my final thoughts on these, I thought I would include a demo, so I will just include the demo now, applying this makeup using as many of these brushes as possible, and you can hear some of my more detailed thoughts there. So I obviously cannot use like all of these in one eye look, but I'm going to try and use as many as possible so you can see how they work. Obviously you should have washed them, but whatever. I'm just going to be using my Lorac Mega Pro 3 palette because any excuse to use this is great. So I'm just mixing pink, cream, and crepe to set down my eye primer that I already put on. And for that one, or for this, I like to use this brush right here. The eye brushes don't have names, so it's just kind of the bigger, like fluffy one. And it does kind of cover your whole eye. I also like to use this, you'll see later, for highlight. And next, of course, is the all-important crease brush. Obviously, no name on here, but it is your standard fluffy crease brush, and it works great. You'll see it's a nice kind of like medium size, so you can really like get in there, but also it's not like too big or too small where you end up with too controlled or too blown out. So yeah, this is a good one. I'm just going to take the color Dusty Mauve and use that as a transition. As you can see, it does really do a nice job of blending without over blending. I want this to be kind of a super fall look and also to use as many brushes as possible. I'm going to take this kind of pointed brush. It's like a detail brush, but it's like, I don't know, it's definitely thick enough where you can blend a little bit with it, but get like super precise where you want the shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. And I'm just going to take the color Violet Gray, so a little bit darker, and show you how I use this brush. I love this one because it's stiff, but it's not too stiff where like you can't blend a bit. I'm just taking that color and placing it kind of right in the crease and then kind of drawing a bit of a line and blending. And now that color is exactly where I want it, but pretty blended. So that is how I like to use that brush. And I think I want to add even a little bit darker, mostly on the lash line. So I'm going to take this super tiny brush. It's just a little detail brush basically. I'm just going to take the next darker color, Eggplant, and use this. This one is much better just for placing the color, like so. And then I'm just going to take the fluffy brush again to blend a bit. I do like that detail brush because it does kind of place the product right where you want it. Now, of course, the flat shadow brush, which I'm going to use the color Rose Quartz, which is this super pretty, like deep bronzy but rose colored shade. I don't know, I love this color. This one is really good for packing on metallic shadows or anything like shimmery, so that's what I like to use it for. It also does well with mattes, but like it's one of those brushes that you can really like get the color, you know? Then I'm gonna go back in with this little brush real quick and add some more Violet Gray. So that is it for the demo. So I'm going to go ahead and use the face brushes. I normally like to use a beauty blender on my face, but I've been trying to get more into using brushes just because, you know, you use less product and stuff. But the foundation I'm using is Makeup Forever Matte Velvet. I do have on the Hourglass Veil primer thing. The main brush out of these that I use to like apply foundation is the face round one. That's just what it says. It's just basically like a standard buffing brush, you know? It's kind of my favorite to apply foundation with. So I just get a bit of product on the brush, stipple it on, and then blend it out. And this brush does blend very well, like very evenly. And it's pretty dense, which is nice. Because I was kind of worried that these were going to not be dense enough to get a good coverage. So yeah, that's basically how this applies. I love how this buffs out because it gives you a good coverage and it really doesn't streak up or anything. So this one is definitely one of my favorite brushes. Like honestly, for a $10 set and like this brush in there, a brush like this would be at least $10 most places. So worth it literally just for this brush. So I'm gonna move on to concealer and I'm going to use the tapered face brush, which is this one right here. This one is a little less dense than the other one, but I kind of like that because I use this to apply concealer So I'm just going to use the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, my favorite concealer, and apply that to the normal places that one highlights and also to my blemishes. Now I will just blend it out. I kind of just pat it in basically, so like, yep. And the tapered brush really helps you get exactly where you want in the corner of the eye. And that is on. So now I typically have been doing a cream highlight using, cream contour using the Anastasia Stick Foundation in the shade Shadow, which is really nice. I like this a lot for the my contour because it like stays in place. And because it is kind of a cream product, it actually tends to stay on pretty well. I heard that these are good for oily skin. So yeah, I haven't tried like the actual stick foundation yet. I'm not sure if I would like this all over my face, but I definitely love it as a contour. So I normally actually use my Real Techniques like sculpting brush or whatever to do this, so I'm just trying something new. I actually haven't used this brush yet from the set. It is the Face Flat Angled, so it's an angled brush kind of similar to that, but it is flat top. And again, this one, the flat top ones are not as dense as the rounded ones. I prefer my Real Techniques one, the more dense, kind of more controlled, but I mean, for that brush, it did a good job, I think. It looks all blended out, so no complaints there. So this set doesn't really have a good setting brush, but I'm just going to use the flat face brush, even though I think it's supposed to be used for liquid foundations. And I'm just gonna set my face with that, using the RCMA No Color Powder, if you are curious. And I'll really quick go back in with this one to set under the eyes. And for blush, I'm using the Clinique Heather Pop, the color is. It's one of their blushes. I love these. I want more. And the Face Angled, more rounded brush from the set. And I just like tap that in a couple times. This one's super dense, so it packs on the color, which I like with blush. So I like to use this for blush for that reason. And I might as well just finish up with the face. I actually go back in with the eye brush, the one I used to put, to set my primer. And I am going to use that to highlight with the Makeup Revolution Vivid Baked Highlighter in Radiant Lights. This one's super pink and I love it. This lets you get like a nice controlled application. And back to the eyes for a minute. I'm taking this brush, which is like somehow one of my favorite brushes, even though I've never used a brush like this before. And I'm going to take the darkest matte shade that I used. This brush is super nice for the lower lash line because you can get it precise and then blend still precisely. Love. Then I'm going to take the little bit lighter shade. I used as many brushes as possible to create this, but I don't typically need a ton of brushes because you just don't. But yeah, so overall, I think these brushes are great. They're definitely worth the $10 to $11 price range, depending on which colors you get. So I really think there's nothing to lose with these. You're paying $10 and you get 19 brushes, not 19, you get 14 brushes. Which I think is a great deal. And especially if you don't own a lot of brushes yet, this is a great way to get started, see what kind of brushes you like. I just think these are a great find and Amazon is awesome. So yeah, definitely if you are thinking about picking up some new brushes, the BS Small set is super good and I love it. These are pretty much exclusively the brushes I've been using since I purchased them. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you do try out any of these brushes, let me know down below. and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.